draft resolution for the consideration of this August House. We, as co-chairs and the members of the contact group, ensured that we are very clear about our aims with which we start this. And we also ensured that the meeting was basically on the finalization of the process rather than the content and the substance, because that we thought would be the responsibility of the ad hoc working group. So we thought we must finalize with the brains involved in the contact group a specifically functional process. Madam Chair, we ensured that all the points that were raised by the participants of the contact group were included here, and I'm very happy to mention here that this particular text is complete without any single bracket. And if you, I think people already have the text in their hands. The participants already have the text in their hands. Would you like to specify some of the highlights of this? Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. We have clarified what are the aims of this particular process, which are as follows: to increase the benefits that arise from the multilateral system from contracting parties, particularly both monetary and non-monetary; increase the user-based income in the benefit sharing fund in a very specific, sustainable, and predictable long-term manner; and improve the availability of the plant genetic resources for food and agriculture in the MLS, and make all those that are already available accessible, and create a legal certainty, administrative simplicity, and transparency for everyone participating in the system. Madam Chair, it was discussed among the co-chairs as well as the participants that whatever we are set out to find, whatever we are set out to make should be very simple and least transaction cost as much as possible. Madam Chair, it was decided that the working group would be inclusive, regionally as well as gender balanced, and including all stakeholder groups. It will be open-ended, so any contracting party may attend, provided that speaking rights are limited to a certain number of members. Supported by virtual meetings and or consultations, including hybrid meetings, as well as physical meetings, which are held in a transparent manner, while decisions would be made at physical meetings, very important one. Madam Chair, the composition was almost as it was earlier in the previous ad hoc working group, except that we just added in the observers research centers and academia along with CGIAR centers. So the decision is as follows. The proposed decision for the governing body to consider is to allow space and facilitate interactions and consultations for building mutual understanding throughout the process, structure the process so as to accord early attention to the key issues such as digital sequence information, payment rates, and other relevant aspects which failed us last time. Guide the preparatory steps for the process, including to prepare a co-chair's proposal taking into account what has been achieved so far. Invite experts as it may be required, because this includes issues related to advancements in technology and science. Update regularly the Bureau. Madam Chair, we have included two things here. I would like to invite the attention of the August House here, that the proposed committee would be updating the Bureau regularly about the progress, and it will also be ensured that the GB10 will provide a checkpoint for the progress and for any further guidance regarding the continuation of the process. So this we have, let's say we have set out ourselves for a time-bound and a specific process with which we would like to deliver the goods. With this, we have also added the last. It recognizes the importance of a magnitude of the task of the working group and that it will require intense and sustained efforts by the contracting parties and stakeholders, and urge contracting party to urgently provide the financial support. And this is all. I thank my co-chair Francois Pithot from Switzerland. I also thank all the members of the contact group. I again repeat here, madam, it was so very clear that everybody was very eager to restart this process and then reach a particular stage where we can enhance the functioning of the multilateral process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. India, Switzerland.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to my co-chair, Sunil Arshak, for the presentation of the report of the co-chair. But unfortunately, there is still something missing from the text. I think during the discussion yesterday, we agreed that there will be a reference to the interpretation in language in the text, and this sentence should have been developed and integrated in the text somewhere. This was not an issue for discussion, it's just that we decided not to present the text during the meeting. It should have been introduced here. So it will be introduced in the report, so between now and the report. So I think, but I just wanted to mention this, so then the process is clear, and colleagues are not surprised when they see an additional point appearing in the final report. Having said that, I have nothing to add to what has been said by my co-chair. Just also to thank all the participants for their active contribution and constructive contribution during the deliberation. Also, a deep thank to the colleagues who were involved in the informal consultation. Eventually, those informal consultations were very useful to get prepared for this meeting, because when we arrived here, at least we had a basis to continue our discussion here. So I think it was a good idea from the previous GB to mention the possibility of holding this informal consultation. And I just want to close by wishing full success to the new, to the working group, open-ended working group on the enhancement of the multilateral system. And I will certainly keep an eye on you, and if you are not able to achieve your task in 3 years, you will probably hear from me. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you, Switzerland. Can we approve the resolution? Germany.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I have one question for clarification that regards Article 9, and in particular the third bullet that is in there. We had discussed that yesterday in the group, and we had provided also some suggested edits to several of these bullet points that had been all integrated except for the third one. So I was wondering whether this maybe has gone lost here in all the track changes. Also because to talk at here, now reading them as preparatory steps is unclear why this part here is called still preparatory steps. I mean, the suggestion for rewording had been slightly different. So maybe the co-chairs can briefly explain.
Thank you, Germany. Switzerland?
Thank you very much. Actually, the discussion we had yesterday, I think maybe the only elements based on my what I remember from the discussion yesterday was maybe we suggest to delete for the process because the preparatory steps are part of the process. So probably the word for the process should be deleted. Then I'm a little bit surprised by the intervention at this stage because I think we have the opportunity to discuss this yesterday quite in details. And really the idea is to let the co-chairs to explore what could be the best steps to take before to prepare for the first meeting of the open-ended working group. So our understanding is that there was general support to the fact that we don't want to be too specific here because the responsibility to come to a positive outcome is mainly on the shoulder of the two co-chairs, and they should have enough flexibility to decide what type of steps they want to take. But I agree with Germany. I think we should delete the word for the process because I remember the discussion yesterday. The preparatory steps are part of the process, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Switzerland. Germany.
May I then simply suggest a simplification, saying include in the process the preparation of a co-chair's proposal, taking into account what has been achieved so far.
Thank you, Germany. Is it okay? Switzerland?
I should confess that I didn't fully understand the proposal. Fully, if Germany can repeat.
Germany.
I said then I would like to suggest a simplification of the sentence, and so that the bullet point simply reads, include the preparation of a co-chair's proposal, include in the process the preparation of a co-chair's proposal, taking into account what has been achieved so far.
Thank you, Germany. Switzerland?
Of course, this is for this plenary to decide, but I should say this does not reflect the agreement and the consensus that was achieved last night. So, of course, any parties can reopen the discussion, but there was really the intention to let. There was on one hand really the recognition that we need some preparatory step before we enter into before the first meeting of the open-ended working group, and of course the preparation of a co-chair proposal is one possible outcome of these preparatory steps, but they could be also quite interesting outcomes. So of course it is for the group to decide, but I just want as a co-chair to indicate that this does not reflect, at least to my opinion, but I let also the other co-chair the discussion and the consensus that was reached last night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Switzerland. Germany.
Yeah, thank you. I think I wasn't given the sufficient time to explain really in detail yesterday, and therefore I was requested to submit the proposal for rewording in writing. But I think there was an agreement that we would call everything part of the process without talking about any preparatory steps. So I would like to suggest again to simplify that wording. Thank you.
Thank you, Germany. Switzerland.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Germany, for the clarification. I think This is why I suggest that we delete the word "for the process," because then it's clear that it's part, because I fully agree with Germany in the sense that as it is written now, we have the impression that the preparatory steps are outside of the process. So if we delete "for the process," I think then it is, you don't have this ambiguity still present. So my proposal, and this is a proposal I made before, was to delete "for the process." Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. France.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Ma remarque est simplement une remarque sémantique sur le point 10, la dernière partie de la phrase. En anglais, il est écrit and urges contracting parties to urgently provide support and financial resources. Nous pensons que le urgently est peut-être en trop, ou bien alors qu'il faut changer le verbe, mais pour éviter cette répétition. Merci.
Merci, la France. Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Brazil respectfully requests that we return to the practice adopted earlier and project the text on the screen, please.
There has been only few changes, deletion of the "for the process" in the Article 9, Bullet 3, and the term in the Article 10, urges. If we can move forward, it will be appreciable. Congo.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Comme le Brésil, nous demandons qu'on nous affiche le texte. On est perdu, on ne comprend même pas. C'est comme si on est exclu du débat.
Merci, le Congo. Germany. Germany.
Yeah, maybe we wait then that the text is being displayed. Because my point was again to a few words in that bullet. But maybe regarding the content, as far as I recall, it was mentioned or said in the group yesterday that before going into negotiations in the text, which would consist of co-chair's proposal, we would need to address some key issues. So I appreciate that there is no sequence of any more in the text, in the sense this is done first and second. Therefore, I think we should be consistent and remove that also in this third bullet. And my proposal was not to delete "for the process," but to delete the preparatory steps and just say include in the process the preparation, or include in the process to prepare a co-chair's proposal, to be even more closer to the wording that is seen here. Thank you.
Thank you, Germany. Argentina.
Gracias, señora presidenta. En relación a la propuesta de Francia, creo que el urges sí debería quedar. El que es repetitivo es el segundo verbo que dice to urgently provide. Entonces, an urges contracting parties to provide sino urges something that they have to do urgently, es un poco confuso. En relación a los cambios propuestos en el párrafo 9, mi delegación desea llamar a las delegaciones que participaron en el grupo de contacto a reconocer el resultado que hubo ahí y evitar reabrir lo que ya hemos discutido. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Argentina. Can we approve the suggested text? Germany.
Are you referring now to the entire resolution?
Yes, with the changed text.
And what about the third point?
I think the text has been changed.
I had proposed a different change. I think it was not...
The latest
include
text.
in the process preparation, yeah, it's bracketed, okay. So we need to decide about that bracket.
Can we adopt this proposal? Can we approve the due text, the last one in blue, between brackets? I see no request for the floor. So the text is approved. Can we approve the whole resolution? No objection. Then it is approved. I will call now for the nomination of the co-chairs from the floor. Eswatini. Switzerland.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. I have the honor to present the candidature of Michael Ryan from Australia as one of the co-chair of the open-ended working group on enhancement of the multilateral system.
Thank you, Switzerland. Eswatini.
Thank you, Chair. Just probably on the beginning of the paragraph, there are two to appoint, so we delete one of those two appoint. I might have noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Eswatini. We have the nomination of one co-chair. We're waiting for the second one. Lebanon.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. نقترح السيد سونيل أرشاك من الهند ككوتشير للجنة. شكرا.
شكرا لبنان. Thank you to the co-chairs. We are moving now to the capacity development strategy. This resolution has been worked on by a small group, and I am happy to report that I have reached consensus on the way forward. This resolution is short and has just been finalized by the small group today. That's why it only has been made available in English. As one other resolution depends upon the adoption of this resolution, we wish to put this forward now. The Secretariat will screen the document. Printed copies have been made available in the document desk, if you wish to consult them. This text has been discussed and agreed by the small group, and I now put it to the plenary for the approval. Are there any comments from the floor? Can we approve the resolution? No objection, then it is approved. Thank you. We are moving to the compliance. This resolution was approved this morning for final adoption, with the exception of 2 paragraphs. Which were dependent on the outcome of discussion on the capacity development strategy, which have been resolved. I now request the Secretary to screen the relevant text concerning these paragraphs. J and K, G and K. I see no objection and no request from the floor. So the text is approved. Let's move now to the following paragraph. Sorry. I precise that we remove the brackets in G and K. Norway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But I believe that we are not having yet a final capacity development strategy, but we are taking note of a draft capacity development strategy. So it needs to be, I don't know how it needs to be formulated. So we could welcome the overall aim of the draft capacity development strategy, and that the compliance committee could assess the implementation of the draft capacity development strategy when it's being operationalized or something. Thank you.
Thank you, Norway. United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. We would actually propose to put off providing this sort of decision on what to do or what the Compliance Committee should do with regard to the strategy until we have the strategy finalized. So we would like to delete this bracketed text, so delete J and delete K. Thank you.
Thank you, United States of America. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We had the same comment to make as North America. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Can we delete the paragraphs? They will be deleted. Thank you. So the resolution will be approved. No objection. It is then. Thank you. We are moving now to the implementation of the funding strategy. This resolution was approved this morning for final adoption with the exception of paragraph 8 and a request to insert a new paragraph welcoming the contribution made by the Federation of Seed Industry of India to the Benefit Sharing Fund. A small group led by the funding committee co-chairs today met, and I now request the Secretary to screen the relevant text. This text has been discussed and agreed by the small group, and now I put it to the plenary for approval for final adoption. I see no request for the floor, so the text is approved. I will ask the Secretary to show the paragraph 15 bis. I see no request from the floor, so this resolution is approved. Thank you. We move to the cooperation with the Convention on Biological Diversity, with the document raised item 16.3/L1. The documents have been published and printed. A number of changes have been proposed of many of the editorial, and my first proposal is to agree all paragraphs with editorial changes in a block. These related to all paragraphs with the exception of 4 bis, 6, 9, 11, 18 bis, 18 ter, and 21. Can we display the paragraphs, please? Can we approve the paragraph 4 bis, United States of America?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and with apologies, the process is moving a little quickly for me. I think I may have a comment on an editorial change. related to preambular paragraph 1. But I'll take your guidance on when to address that. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Article 20.5 does actually say it the Secretary shall cooperate with the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity rather than just the CBD, so we would like to keep that original text referring to the Secretariat of the CBD. Thank you.
Thank you, United States of America. I see Argentina.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Y al igual que Estados Unidos, me costó un poco seguir a qué párrafos nos referíamos, así que si pudiera dictar a velocidad de dictado los párrafos, el número de párrafo que está proponiendo aprobar, así podemos tener claridad sobre cuáles son los que estamos considerando para aprobación en este momento, le agradecería.
Thank you, Argentina. There is a change in the preamble paragraph suggested by USA, and then the list of the paragraph I have listed, which are 4 bis, 6, 9, 11, 18 bis, 18 ter, and 21. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We only have a comment not on this specific on the preamble text, but on there's a small edit to be made on paragraph 3, where it reads instead of complementary, it should read complementarity and coherence. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Can we approve these changes? Then we move to para 4 bis. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at this new text, we believe that in fact, it's the governing body who is developing options for ABS that relates to plant and food and agriculture. It's not something that we leave to anybody else to do. So that is one aspect of this text. And secondly, we mean that what is contained in 4 bis is actually captured in para 6 further down. So we're not quite sure that we need to include this paragraph. So we suggest its deletion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. We support this delegate from Sweden. We also thought to delete this paragraph, recognizing that it's not entirely clear who the recommendation is directed at, who the direct actions would be expected from, but also noting that we think that paragraph 4 above captures the ideas in a more direct way regarding how PGRFA is incorporated into the GBF. We think it's more clear. And then paragraph 6 below, we think also captures how the GBF should contribute to PGRFA conservation, sustainable use, and benefit sharing. So we'd also like to delete this paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you. United States of America. Do we accept to delete the paragraph 4 bis? No request for the floor, so it will be deleted. Let's move to the following paragraph, 6. United States of America.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I note in paragraph 6, there's 2 sections that are in brackets. Perhaps, I don't think it works with both of the bracketed sections in the text, so I'd first, I think, seek clarity on if these are alternatives. Yes? Then I'll say the United States prefers the second bracketed text to keep that and delete the first texts that are in brackets, but with one small edit to add after plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, United States of America. Argentina.
Gracias, señora presidenta, y esta fue de hecho nuestra sugerencia y podemos apoyar la adición hecha por los Estados Unidos. Creemos que es lo más correcto referir a que para el órgano rector es importante que el marco mundial contribuya a los objetivos del tratado. Gracias.
Gracias, Argentina. Do we agree with the suggested text? It is approved. Let's move to the following paragraph, 9. Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we please go back to paragraph 7? We have the impression that in addressing digital sequence information might be deleted from the text because as it is written, it seems like the treaty has some experience to share about addressing digital sequence information on the multilateral system on access and benefit sharing, which we do not think is the case. So we would propose deleting it.
Thank you, Brazil. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We support the intervention made by Brazil.
Thank you, Sweden. Can we approve this change in the paragraph 7? No objection. Then we approve it. Let's move to 9. Argentina.
Gracias, señora presidenta, y le ruego su indulgencia. Me refiero al párrafo 7 nuevamente. Concuerdo con la apreciación de Brasil en relación a que pareciera que habría alguna experiencia para compartir. Tal vez tendría más sentido la referencia a información digital de secuencias si fuera movida luego de la referencia al marco mundial de biodiversidad. Y de esta forma leería, el párrafo leería así: When finalizing discussions on the text of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and Digital Sequence Information. Y de esta forma estaríamos refiriendo a las dos cuestiones que están bajo discusión en el grupo de trabajo de composición abierta, que es el marco mundial de biodiversidad y la eventual decisión sobre información digital de secuencias. Y lo que decimos es que se considere la experiencia del tratado en ambas discusiones, básicamente. Gracias.
Gracias, Argentina. Do we agree with this paragraph as it is suggested by Argentina? United States of America.
Thank you, Chair, and I really appreciate the intervention from my colleague from Argentina. That's what I would have suggested as well, so we support the moving it. I think we would want to make clear that this decision on a GBF could be different. There could be a different decision on DSI, so I think we would need to say, and a potential decision on digital sequence information. Thank you.
Thank you, United States of America. Can we approve the paragraph? It is approved then. We go to 9. Any comments on that paragraph? I see none. So we approve the text. Sorry, Switzerland.
Small editorial, there's a gender action plan of action. We should keep the exact title.
Thank you, Switzerland. Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was about to make the same observation and also wonder if it would be the case to refer to future post-2020 gender responsive initiative, considering that it has not yet been agreed on, it's still under negotiation. So Brazil would suggest eliminating the reference to future post-2020 gender responsive initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Argentina.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Retiro el comentario que iba a hacer.
Gracias, Argentina. Chile.
Gracias, señora presidenta. En este punto solicitaríamos mantener el futuro plan de género que se pudiera aprobar en el convenio sobre la diversidad biológica y utilizar el mismo lenguaje que se está utilizando para el marco mundial post-2020 de la biodiversidad. Ahí lo dejo en sus manos si es según se apruebe, si es que es aprobado, pero nos interesa que se mantenga la mención al futuro plan de acción. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Gracias, Chile. Argentina. Microphone to Argentina, please. Switch off and switch on again. Ah, it's working.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Y mi comentario retirado tiene que ver con que no termino de entender a qué documentos se hace referencia aquí. El CBD tiene un plan de acción de género 2015-2020 y luego está negociando un nuevo plan de acción de género post-2020. No sé si nos referimos a eso con el Future Post-2020 Gender Responsive Initiative. Tal vez sería importante referirnos al nombre que el futuro plan de acción tendría actualmente en el borrador del documento que es post-2020 plan de acción de género. Eso por un lado. Y por el otro, creo que se pueden considerar las lecciones aprendidas del plan de acción de género que terminó, pero tal vez necesitamos alguna otra referencia en relación al futuro plan de acción, porque todavía no tenemos lecciones aprendidas que considerar sobre ese futuro plan de acción. Así que habría que pensar un poco cómo redactar esto. Gracias.
Gracias, Argentina. Argentina.
I will try to propose a solution. So it would read, invites contracting parties to consider the best practices and lessons learned from the implementation of the 2015-2020 Gender Plan of Action in the context of the CBD, relevant to the conservation and... Sorry, not to add any text yet. So, and you would move, and future post-2020 Gender Action Plan to the end. And yes, copy paste it there, but before and write and looks forward to the future. So it would read, invites contracting parties to consider the best practices and lessons learned from the implementation of the 2015-2020 Gender Plan of Action in the context of the CBD, relevant to the conservation and sustainable use of plant genetic resources for food and agriculture, and looks forward to the future post-2020 Gender Plan of Action. Thank you.
Gracias, Argentina. Any comments on the text? Can we approve the text as suggested by Argentina? No objection, then it is approved. Let's move now to the paragraph 11. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, as for your indulgence. But on paragraph 10, we're talking about the adopted global biodiversity framework, and as a matter of fact, it's not yet adopted, so we would propose the global biodiversity framework, once adopted, Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Is this addition accepted? We approve the text then and move to the para 11. Any comments on the paragraph 11? I see Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see the Secretariat are now wrestling with, yes, exactly, that makes much more sense. This comment refers to para 11, and this is just an editorial. We think para 11 talks about this, request the Secretary to continue engaging and providing inputs in the process, and this should actually precede para 10, because there we request the Secretary to report back on the progress with the adoption. So we propose to move para 11 before para 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Can we approve this suggestion made by Sweden? I see no objection, so it is approved. Let's move to para 18 bis. Argentina.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I seek your indulgence, but I'm going back a little bit to paragraph 6. I think there is a slight we missed 2 words there, which are after to the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of their use. It's the objective of the treaty, and the sentence does not make any sense if it's not like that. If you allow me to go back to 18 now, I do not have any problem with the first part of 18b's. However, the last part that says, by facilitating a mechanism for cooperation among parties to the relevant biodiversity-related conventions, sounds a little bit awkward to me, or better, it raises many questions on how that mechanism would work, who would be taking part in that mechanism, how would it be funded, etc., etc. What would be the rules, the objectives, what would it be set for to do it, etc. So I would rather delete that second part, starting with by, and that would also mean deleting 18 ter, which it's mainly about that mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Argentina. Can we delete only a mechanism and keep by facilitating cooperation and the following, Argentina? Argentina?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I requested to delete also 18 ter, which talk about the mechanism. And my understanding I wonder what would that mean, facilitating cooperation among parties to the relevant biodiversity conventions. I'm still a bit on the fog on what would that entail, how would that be done. parties are here, we cooperate among ourselves, we talk, we can establish programs of bilateral, triangular, multilateral cooperation. There are already several mechanisms. What is actually intended by this, because one thing is to say that the conventions will cooperate, and you have the secretariats and the Bern process, etc., etc. And another thing is to say that UNEP will facilitate cooperation among parties. So there you have a way larger proposal, which in my view it's not very clear. But there are many other parties requesting for the floor, so I would suggest to hear them as well.
Thank you. Argentina, United States of America.
Hi, thank you, Chair. We also had some concerns about the reference to a specific mechanism for cooperation in the last clause of 18 bis, but we would suggest that we could keep it, but maybe make it not so specific about having a mechanism, but just say by facilitating a process for cooperation. Yep. And I think we recognize that this is inviting UNEP to build on Bern process, which we were very supportive of and appreciated, and would like to see that sort of be carried forward. So I'd see if that could maybe solve the problem. And then we would like to keep 18 ter as well, but to streamline it. So we would suggest to have it read, requests the Secretary and encourages contracting parties to actively engage in this effort, and then delete the cooperation mechanism among parties to the various biodiversity-related conventions facilitated by UNEP, but then keep the rest. So it would still say contributing to effective and efficient, etc. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United States of America. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, we went a bit quick, so I have a comment on para 12, and I can come back to that in a while.
Thank you, Sweden. Switzerland.
Thank you for the floor, Madam Chair. We understand, I think, the questions of Argentina. For us, I think it's important to continue this Bern process. I would like perhaps to make reference to the document 16.4/INF1 submitted by UNEP, where they explicitly make reference to their work and willingness to continue this work in supporting the collaboration amongst not just the secretariats, but also among parties of the biodiversity-related conventions. So we would like to keep the bracketed text and 18 ter. With regards to the suggestion made by the US, that's something that would be acceptable for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Are there any comments on the suggested text for 18 bis and ter? Can we accept the changes? Cameron.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le Cameroun, comme membre actif dans le processus de Bern, soutient les propositions contenues dans le 18 bis et le 18 ter. Madame la Présidente, c'est non seulement un processus de coordination et de collaboration important entre les différentes conventions liées à la biodiversité qui donne plus de voix aux parties contractantes, mais aussi une opportunité pour s'assurer que les objectifs du traité prennent pleinement leur place à la mise en œuvre du cadre mondial de la biodiversité pour l'après 2020. Nous demandons donc à ce que ce texte soit maintenu et considéré par l'organe directeur. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Merci, le Cameroun. Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just request kindly some clarification. As far as we, Brazil, understand, the process for cooperation is the Bern process. So if we are referring to it, instead of saying by facilitating a process for cooperation, that wording makes it sound like it's a different process. Maybe we could say by facilitating said process or the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Cameroon. Can we approve Argentina? The microphone to Argentina, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with the changes introduced by the US and Brazil, for us this paragraph reads way better, and it's something that we now do understand. We now do understand what we are requesting. So we can accept that with those changes as a compromise for us. After facilitating, you should delete "a" and leave "the," I think, to properly reflect Brazil's proposal, and that's acceptable to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Argentina. No comments on the suggested changes? So we approve those two paragraphs, 18 bis and 18 ter. Let's get back to paragraph 12 as suggested by Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we don't see that we should prejudge any future decisions, so I think we would like to delete the part that reads, "and if as appropriate, welcome." We would just say that we decide that at its next session we will consider the post-2020 GBF. I think that is fine with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Any comments on that paragraph 12? I see no request for the floor, so the changes are accepted. We are moving to the paragraph 21. Argentina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you might be referring to the previous one, which is deleted completely. So maybe a discussion on that is what you were suggesting when you suggested paragraphs. Thank you.
Indeed, Argentina. Thank you. Do we accept the deletion? I see no reaction. Can we approve the remaining paragraphs and the resolution? No reaction and no objection, then it is approved. For final adoption. Thank you. We move now to the following item with documents raised item 16.4.2/L1 related to the institutions that have concluded agreements with the governing body under Article 15 of the International Treaty. The documents have been printed and distributed, and we will put the text with the suggested change in the screen. Any comments on the suggested changes? Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We heard in the presentation about these problems, and we would like to rephrase this paragraph a bit. So I will read it very slowly, and we can so that we can type it. The Secretary can type it. So we propose to read that the paragraph reads as follows: noting the advice provided during the 9th session, comma, that C4 ICRAF and ICRISAT are facing funding difficulties, comma, therefore calls upon all relevant stakeholders to assist the gene banks financially, comma, as appropriate, full stop. So this is our proposal, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sweden. Malawi? Microphone to Malawi, please. The floor for Malawi, please. Microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We actually have a concern. Okay. We have a concern on the draft document in terms of the cooperation with other international organizations. We feel like it must really refer to CGIARs, leaving out other bodies, especially based on the discussions or issues raised during the plenary, at least by 3 countries, Niger, Philippines, and Malawi. So based on that, I wish to make a proposition or a suggestion on 13 bis. I can read it out.
Malawi, I will invite you to wait a bit until we finish with these paragraphs, and then we'll go to the paragraphs you are requesting. 13. Thank you.
Okay, that's okay.
Is there any objection to the suggestion of Sweden? I see no objection. Sorry, India.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thank you for that new proposal by the Sweden. In fact, it covers the issue for which they have said the advice was provided during the 9th session. But if you recall, Madam Chair and my dear colleagues, having funding difficulties for a national gene bank and having funding difficulties for a CGIAR gene bank is altogether different. This governing body, I invite, must make a distinction between that. I request that the earlier part may be retained with whatever changes, but it is very important to mention that this has happened because of the institutional reform, not casting any aspersion on what is being happening. It is only the request, and we are noting and we are only requesting that the funding may be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. India. Sweden. Before Sweden, United States of America.
Thank you. We would like to support the proposal from Sweden.
Excuse me, USA. Could you please repeat? Sorry. USA.
Can you hear me? Thank you. We would like to support the proposal by Sweden.
Thank you. United States of America, Congo.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je crois que la résolution reflète la nature des débats que nous avons eus. Et cette nature des débats est reflétée dans le 9. Donc nous appuyons cette première proposition et nous alignons sur la position de l'Inde. Merci.
Merci le Congo. Kenya. Kenya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kenya aligns ourselves to the position taken by India and supported by Congo. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. Niger.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous soutenons également la proposition de l'Inde. Par exemple, si on voit spécialement ICRISAT vraiment travaille beaucoup dans les zones du Sahel. Par exemple, actuellement, quand on prend le Niger, le Mali, le Burkina, le Nigeria, le Ghana et autres, le Tchad, on a plus de 30 000 accessions dont nous, on ne peut pas conserver à notre niveau. Donc c'est grâce à l'ICRISAT aujourd'hui si on a toutes ces accessions en vie. Merci beaucoup. Sinon, on soutient l'Inde. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, le Niger. Australia.
Sorry, I accidentally pressed the button again. Thank you, Chair. Just would support the proposal of Sweden. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Nepal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In this case, Nepal also aligns with India upon having the original statement, the distinction between the gene bank and the CGIR. Thank you.
Thank you, Nepal. Can we get back to Sweden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to underline I'm doing these interventions on behalf of our region. Would it help if we amend the proposed text by saying that, noting the advice provided during the 9th session, that C4 and ICRAF and ICRSAT as a result of the CGIR process of institutional reform, are facing funding difficulties and so on. We do not want to make a specific address to the trust fund, so we would like, maybe this could be one way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a big sympathy to these two gene banks, actually, and these gene banks have a big contribution to this community, and just institutional reform resulted in negative situation for these two. So this is the first. And in this discussion, I think nobody really opposing to provide assistance or help to this situation. This is the first things we already agreed, I believe. And of course, Japan would like to support the insertion of some text to support that situation. Then my question is, what is really the difference between these two suggestions which India posed and Sweden posed? So first, I think probably the fact is not only gene banks are facing the challenges. So that's why I think we can use a part of the second proposal to say that they are facing, I mean, the two, ICRAF and ICRISAT are facing the challenges. This is the first point. And second, in the first proposal saying find a solution, and the second one is saying financial support as appropriate. I just would like to ask the clarification whether Indian proposal trying to find broader thing, not just getting the financial assistance. So probably it would be nice to hear from India about that intention. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Japan. I will give the floor to Australia and then India.
Thank you, Chair. I'm reluctant for the governing body who are sitting outside of that reform process to be making statements about the process and that when we heard, you know, as part of what we heard in the report to the governing body was that to some extent this was a result of the fact that these bodies chose not to be part of the one CGIAR reform, and so I don't think it's appropriate that we should be trying to make comment on that when we're not really party to those, and we don't know all the subtleties, and to make this part of the resolution, I guess, appropriately balanced, it would have to be a very long set of words that are beyond what we've heard and been reported to in the GB. So I think, you know, I think we can definitely appreciate that these bodies are facing financial difficulties, and certainly call upon stakeholders to work with them to find a solution. But I don't think we're in a position to be making attribution as to the to some of these factors. So I'd be reluctant to support that language that's been suggested by Sweden in the revision to their original text. I could, I guess, again, just going on factual account of what we heard during the meeting, we could note that they're facing financial difficulties as they no longer receive direct support from the CGIAR Trust Fund. I could repeat that if you want me to read that, but that's, I guess, a suggested alternative phrasing.
Australia, this is the text suggested. Thank you. India.
Madam Chair, may I wait for the comment from the Sweden about this change before I make a comment on that?
Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we can go along with this this proposal made by Australia to try to finish the drafting of this specific paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. India.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Whether it is because of war or because of earthquake or because of financial crunches, if any gene bank, National Gene Bank or CG Gene Bank is facing any kind of difficulty, this governing body of the treaty will certainly have concerns which were expressed when these points were discussed in the plenary. Now, the suggestion which was, let's say, inserted by Sweden as a result of the CGIAR institutional reform was just giving us, means what is the reason that we are talking about. That was only indicating the reason why we are talking about this. So that because of the institutional reform, so they are facing funding difficulties. However, as they no longer receive direct support from the CGIAR trust fund, will also indicate the same for us. It doesn't matter. We are preparing this particular paragraph to send out a message to funding agencies, to contracting parties, to other agencies, that they may look at this particular situation and take care of funding. That's the only purpose. Madam Chair, please allow me to just make one more comment. It is not that we are sympathizing with these gene banks, Madam Chair. We are not sympathizing. In fact, we are all extremely concerned, extraordinarily concerned, because next year the globe is celebrating the International Year of Millets. And a gene bank, which conserves majority of the millet germplasm in the world, is facing this crunch. So we all should be extremely concerned and take immediate action. That's the request. So we are not very much worried about where this word comes and means what is the, let's say, the syntax of indication. So we go with the final, which is agreed between Australia and Sweden, just to ensure that the reason is mentioned in the paragraph, which I suppose now it reads, noting the advice provided during the 9th session that CIFOR, ICRAF and ICRISAT are facing funding difficulties as they no longer receive direct support from CGIAR Trust Fund. Therefore, calls upon, and I had also seen another version in that this calls upon goes to the next point, if that suits better. But if this is fine, which is okay, therefore calls upon all the relevant stakeholders to assist the gene bank financially as appropriate. That would be okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, India. Sweden, is this acceptable?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, as I understand from the intervention just made by our colleague from India, we will have did I understand correctly that we will have a 9 bis that therefore calls upon? Or could you please explain?
Sweden.
But if it's not, I mean, to me, to us, it's. I think the text reads fine now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Back to India.
Yeah, this suits us. This takes care of the purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, India. Papua New Guinea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been listening to all the arguments put forward, and I'm just wondering, maybe can we remove these articles completely? I'm not too sure. I mean, we do note that these 2 gene banks face the potentially problems in funding. But from the information provided, this is part of an institutional internal process and to me goes beyond or is something that the governing body can take note of, but not necessarily needs to act upon. I think it was previously mentioned there are many other gene banks that are outside of the CGIAR who equally important and face funding difficulties. So to some extent, I think the decision made for these 2 gene banks must have been on very careful considerations, which should also include financial implications. So my proposal would be to take out Article 9. Article 10 talks in more general terms about the importance of the Article 15 gene banks and the need to basically look after them well. Thank you.
Thank you, Papua New Guinea, Iran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Iran endorses fully what has been stated by India and believe that the item number 9 should keep in this text. Thank you.
Thank you, Iran. Burkina Faso.
Madame la Présidente, alors je joins ma parole à ma voix à celle du Niger, avec qui nous partageons les mêmes réalités. Hier, j'ai parlé de guerre et toute la partie nord, nous avons des collectes qui sont dans les banques de gènes de l'ICRISAT en Inde. Et nous pensons que c'est vraiment une situation réelle sur le terrain et qui n'est pas prête de cesser. Donc nous vivons ça au quotidien et nous pensons qu'en mettant l'emphase sur cette situation particulière, ça permet de régler un problème capital pour cette région. Merci.
Merci au Burkina Faso. Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to support the insertion of this text, not deleting all the paragraph. It's because if we look at the MLS report, these two compose 5 or 10% of the indicated materials or SMTAs. It's not nothing. It's very important part of the available resources which IGRAF and IGRISAT is providing. So I really like to keep this paragraph. If I think it seems that now we have agreement between India and other countries. So I really like to keep that text already close to agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Niger.
Ok, merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Je pensais que ça, ce n'est pas un problème seulement de l'ICRISAT. Merci d'abord au Japon encore. Et comme l'avait dit notre collègue du Burkina, ça, c'est un problème vraiment pour toute même l'Afrique de l'Ouest, si on peut le dire. Puisqu'actuellement, comme je l'ai dit, il y a beaucoup vraiment de pays dont nous, on n'a pas la capacité de conserver nos ressources phytogénétiques. J'ai donné l'exemple, par exemple, du Niger, du Nigeria, du Sénégal, Burkina Faso, Bénin, Togo et autres. Donc c'est à l'ICRISAT maintenant qu'on arrive à déposer nos ressources phytogénétiques comme duplicateur de sécurité. Donc laisser ce paragraphe, c'est revenir maintenant à aider les parties contractantes du traité. Merci beaucoup.
Merci le Niger. Ouganda.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. I'm just standing with the rest of the speakers that propose that we leave paragraph 9 because the gene banks do a lot of backup support to the gene banks in developing countries. So that's why support to this is very crucial. Thank you.
Thank you, Uganda. Togo.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. En fait, en écoutant tout ce qui a été dit, nous n'avions pas besoin de prendre la parole pour dire que ce paragraphe est vraiment important. C'est très important pour nous parce que l'ICRISAT contribue beaucoup à la conservation du mil et des céréales dans le nord du Togo. Et ensuite, en fait, il s'agit des banques de gènes qui avaient, des centres qui avaient déjà des ressources financières, mais subitement non pas. Donc, il urge vraiment de pouvoir les appuyer en ce sens. Je vous remercie, Madame.
Merci le Togo. We see that it has been discussed before, this paragraph, and suggested by India and other parties, and supported here by most of the parties. So, can we keep this paragraph as it is suggested. I see no objection, so it's approved. Let's move to the paragraph 10. Sweden.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is again an intervention on behalf of our region. The paragraph reads nicely. It's just the very end that we don't really understand, that reads through strengthening the treaty and the crop trust mechanism. And it's difficult for us really to understand the word mechanism. So we will propose to have full stop after Article 15 gene banks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Any comments on this suggestion? India.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I agree with the previous intervention that this may not be fully straightforward in trying to understand what it does mean. But we know now that because of these reforms or whatever changes that have taken place, the only bulk of funds that are flowing to some of these gene banks is through a crop trust mechanism. So the proposal or it's only that we emphasize as the governing body that all these gene banks in general get sufficient funds through existing mechanisms, that crop trust or the treaty by its recommendations or requests. So that was the purpose, I suppose, because of which this phrase is added. So if this can be changed and improved in terms of English and syntax, it's welcome.
Thank you. India. No comments, so the suggested deletion is accepted. United States of America.
Thank you. We have a comment on one of the further paragraph in the resolution. If now would be the appropriate time.
We will finalize the paragraph 10 and then we will go forward. Thank you. India.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, it was not very clear to me. So you mentioned that the one which is struck off now will be struck off, or it will be retained. What was the consensus you just mentioned? Thank you.
India. Do you have a new text to suggest to improve this text?
No, Madam Chair, unfortunately. I was thinking this was sufficiently straightforward, and if somebody else can help in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, India. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we fully understand the concern expressed by India, so perhaps this is just a proposal. If we read through strengthening the involvement of the treaty and the crop trust. Just a proposal.
India.
Thank you, Sweden. Acceptable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, India. Do we accept these changes on the paragraph 10? I see no reaction, so it is accepted. I'm going back to United States of America. You wanted to make comments on which paragraph?
Thank you. This is with respect to paragraph 13, and I recall that the United States expressed serious reservations over this initiative in our comments. What we would propose in order to address this concern is to retain this part of this paragraph, which would be the first part of it, but we would request a full stop after the phrase effective operation of cryopreservation. Thank you.
Thank you, United States of America. Is this deletion acceptable? Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, I don't have problems with the deletion of the second part, but I think if we mention the funding issues of the previous two CGIAR gene banks, I think it is important here to include that in the end, it's not only about training, capacity building and training to run cryopreservation, but we also need to have ongoing funding to support any such initiatives in those regions where it is of very big importance to have this kind of conservation setup. So somehow it is about capacity building, training, and it is asked to relevant stakeholders and donors to also consider ongoing funding support for some of these initiatives.
Thank you, Papua New Guinea. Malawi, you have suggested some changes in the paragraph 13. Are you still requesting the floor for this? Malawi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I will hold my proposal for now. I notice it's actually on 16.4 L1, not on this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Malawi. Are there any comments on the suggested text? United States of America.
Thank you very much. I think that we could accept a version of the text that has been suggested by PNG, but as we mentioned, we also have some serious reservations in terms of the technical aspect of this. So what we would suggest is that we could also invite the CGIRA Center to liaise with technical experts and potential donors. To liaise with technical experts and potential donors. in further developing the initiative.
Thank you, United States of America. Can we accept the suggested changes? Can we accept the text? I see no reaction, so the text is accepted. Can we approve the resolution? No reaction. Then it is approved. Thank you. Let's move now to the cooperation with other international bodies and organizations, Part 1, international bodies and organizations, referred to in the document raised item 16.4/L1. The draft resolution contains minor textual adjustment regarding resources, the replacement of the term synergy to complementary in relation to biodiversity-related conventions, bracket tests on the cooperation with UPOV. I submit it to your consideration for approval. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and our comment relates to this specific paragraph, number 11. For us, it's very important to maintain the links with for the Secretary to continue cooperating with the Secretary of CBD and the Vice General of UPOV. And those of us who attended the previous governing body meeting might remember that we spent quite a lot of time deliberating on this particular text. So we have agreed text from Resolution 12/2019 that we would like to reinsert here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Malawi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My suggestion is on point 13, the proposal I wanted to make previously. So on point 13, I would like to suggest 13 bis, and this is based on the discussions and other aspects of the treaty and the suggestions that were made by 3 countries, as mentioned before. So the text is as follows. Would like to request the Secretariat to cooperate with the Human Rights Council to support contracting parties to implement the international treaty in line with human rights instruments such as the International Convention on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, in bracket ICESCR, close bracket, comma, and the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, comma, UNDRIP and UNDROP. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Malawi. I will get back to the paragraph 11. Do we agree on the changes suggested by Sweden? Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Japan would like to have 2 comments. First, the text newly tried to insert as a 13 bis. I'm not sure if this is some kind of appropriate action at this time for introducing the new ideas after the long discussion. That is my first question. And secondly, paragraph 11, I haven't really seen the contents of the draft FAQ, and now we have very short short phrase to say, to explain the objectives of the international treaty. It doesn't really make sense to me, because with or without that FAQ, the objectives of the international treaty is very clear to all of us. So what do we try to say this? Or probably this is because we haven't seen any draft FAQ. That's why we can't really say that for it. So I believe original text, probably it's a bit long, but that is trying to capture what is in the contents of the draft FAQ. That's my belief. So can we consider a little bit more? Because current phrase doesn't really make sense to me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Japan. Niger.
Ok, merci Madame la Présidente. Merci Japon encore pour votre question. Donc maintenant, moi je renvoie la question au secrétariat de répondre au Japon. Si le secrétariat n'a pas réussi notre proposition lors de notre déclaration, c'est un oubli, on ne sait pas. Ça c'est la deuxième fois, je ne sais pas, c'est un oubli qu'il oublie ou bien on n'arrive pas à intégrer notre proposition. Sinon, on l'avait déjà fait depuis le jour qu'on a discuté en plénière, on a demandé d'insérer ça. Et pour le point 11, pardon, on voulait comprendre pourquoi cette collaboration, bien coopération entre les traités et UPOV. Pardon, avant de se prononcer la décision, on voulait savoir qu'est-ce qu'on va gagner dedans chaque fois on parle de la coopération et on demande même encore. Maintenant, au niveau du point E9, encore on demande le secrétariat de continuer à participer aux réunions pertinentes de l'Union internationale du pauvre. Ici, nous proposons encourager, donc encourage, pas demande. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Le Niger, France.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Donc la France appuie l'intervention faite par le collègue suédois. S'agissant du paragraphe 11, il nous semble approprié de garder le langage initial, étant donné qu'il s'agit d'une initiative qui a été engagée et reconnue au niveau de la résolution du dernier organe directeur. La première proposition, enfin la proposition alternative qui est faite d'expliquer les objectifs du traité au niveau de cette foire aux questions, à vrai dire, n'est pas représentative du véritable projet, étant donné qu'effectivement cette foire aux questions, pour lequel le projet est engagé depuis un certain moment, vise vraiment à expliciter les domaines d'interaction entre l'UPOV et donc le traité international. Donc il nous semble important de garder cette partie qui est donc factuellement donc vraie. Voilà, merci. Et s'agissant du 13 bis, donc nous entendons effectivement du collègue du Niger qu'a priori c'est une soumission qui a été déjà faite auprès du secrétariat. Cependant, nous serions plutôt favorables à garder un langage qui a été reconnu et longuement débattu au niveau du groupe d'experts Farmers' Rights, relatif aux droits des agriculteurs en particulier. Voilà, merci.
La France, cela voudrait-il dire que vous êtes d'accord avec le paragraphe 13 bis?
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, India, I'm giving the floor to France just for a few minutes.
Okay.
France.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Alors juste pour clarifier, mon intervention n'était peut-être pas suffisamment claire sur ce point. Si nous devions garder un langage relatif à la coopération, notamment avec le Conseil des droits de l'homme, nous préférerions garder le langage qui a été agréé, pour lequel il y a eu un accord au niveau de la résolution, enfin, au niveau du groupe, pardon, sur les droits des agriculteurs, donc dont la résolution est encore à adopter. Merci.
Merci la France. India.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This 13 bis is very important, and we from India request the governing body to consider this 13 bis for this collaboration with these human rights instruments. Thank you.
Thank you, India. Congo.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je crois que ici nous sommes en train de parler de la question de la coopération avec les institutions. Contrairement à ce qu'a dit notre collègue de la France, au niveau de la résolution que nous avons prise, on a pris un contexte général. Si elle pense que nous devons refléter ça ici, donc concernant UPOV aussi, il faut enlever. Tout ce qu'on a, toutes les institutions qu'on a citées là, il faut enlever, parce que je ne connais pas une institution qui n'a pas de nom. Il faudra bien qu'on précise, comme on l'a fait depuis le début. Donc ici, on parle des institutions. Il ne faut pas qu'on confonde avec ce que nous avons dit dans le droit des agriculteurs. Ici, c'est la coopération avec les institutions. Donc ce paragraphe-là a été proposé au niveau du point 13, nous l'avons retiré pour venir le mettre ici parce que c'est ici normalement qu'il doit être. Voilà, parce que c'est la coopération avec les institutions. Maintenant, si on nous dit que le Conseil des droits de l'homme n'est pas une institution, bon, donc UPOV aussi n'est pas une institution, donc on devrait enlever. Donc c'est par parallélisme de forme que nous devons citer toutes les institutions avec lesquelles notre traité doit traiter, avoir la collaboration. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Merci. Le Congo, Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to go back to 13 bis. This is just to support the position of Malawi, which is the same position that the Philippines gave during the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippines. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We would support the intervention to use language consistent with the discussions in the farmers' rights group. The list there contains a range of institutions that not all members are party to, and wouldn't be able to explicitly endorse working in cooperation with them when we haven't supported. Some people haven't supported some of those bodies and instruments. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Burkina Faso.
Oui, merci Madame la Présidente. C'est pour juste appuyer aussi le 13 bis, parce que ça reflète un peu les discussions à ce niveau. Nous avons montré dès les premiers moments que la question des ressources phytogénétiques est également une question des droits de l'homme. Lorsqu'on prend le droit des agriculteurs, je pense que c'est vraiment conforme. Si on peut la garder, ça serait bien pour le Burkina. Merci.
Merci, le Burkina Faso. Can we put the paragraph 13 bis between brackets and get back once we have the outcome from the farmers' rights group and finalize now the paragraph 11? Democratic Republic of Congo.
Merci bien pour la parole, Madame la Présidente. Je crois que j'interviens pour dire l'intitulé de la résolution est explicite, dit coopération avec d'autres organisations internationales. Ce sont lesquelles? Les 13 les citent, puisque les titres ne les a pas cités. Mais là, on donne la litanie de ce que nous pensons. Ou alors on change l'intitulé de la résolution si on veut effacer les 13 bis. Merci, puisque au précédent, nous avons été précis pour la Convention de la biodiversité. Mais ici, on donne l'intitulé large en disant d'autres institutions. Et d'autres institutions, on les cite bien dans les 13 bis. Merci.
Merci à la République démocratique du Congo. Congo.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je rebondis suite à l'intervention de l'Australie. Quand il dit que tous les pays membres, toutes les parties prenantes ne sont pas parties à ces instruments, mais je lui rappelle que toutes les parties aussi ne sont pas parties prenantes à l'UPOV. Voilà, donc si on met ce 13 bis entre crochets, nous demandons aussi à ce qu'on mette la coopération avec le secrétariat général de l'UPOV entre crochets, au motif que toutes les parties prenantes du traité ne sont pas parties prenantes de l'UPOV. Merci, Madame.
Merci, le Congo. Cameroun.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'appuie ce qu'a dit le Congo. J'avais demandé la parole avant que vous ne dites de mettre le 13 bis entre crochets. Je pense que, comme a dit le Congo, également tous les pays ne sont pas membres de l'UPOV, mais là nous parlons des relations entre le traité de l'UPOV. Alors le Cameroun soutient la proposition du Malawi pour l'intégration du Conseil des droits de l'homme au niveau du 13 bis. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Merci le Cameroun. Je suggère encore, puisqu'il n'y a pas un consensus sur ce paragraphe, qu'on le laisse entre crochets, mais on va y revenir, mais qu'on finalise le paragraphe 11. Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was just to echo the intervention made by France, that we, in fact, in the Farmers' Rights Contact Group, we discussed this particular aspect at length, and we actually managed to find agreed language. So this is just a proposal that we could make an amendment in para 13 after relevant international bodies and organizations, including human rights bodies. So that would include all of that. That could be a proposal to encompass the desires of many parties in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Is this acceptable? Argentina? Sorry, Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Without prejudice to others who expressed concerns about 13 bis, I'll just withdraw my remarks and leave it for others to settle.
Thank you, Australia. Niger?
Ok, merci, Madame la Présidente. Bon, je ne sais pas pourquoi on va laisser 13 pour rebondir, repartir encore au niveau du pont. Sinon, 11 et 13 sur le même cas. Si 11 et 13 doivent être entre griffes, et 11 et 13, du moins 11 aussi, parce qu'ils ont les mêmes problèmes. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, le Niger. Canada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Canada likes to remind of the objectives of the treaty: conservation and sustainable use of plant genetic resources and equitable sharing of the benefits arising of their use. These are the objectives of the treaty. This particular section here refers now to international bodies and organizations. It seems to me appropriate that we prioritize in this context those bodies and organizations that directly work with what the objectives of the treaty refer to. Therefore, and having not participated, but having heard that there have been extensive discussions on this matter addressed in 13 bis under the Farmers' Rights Group, I think it's appropriate to keep this topic addressed there, keep it out of this general aspect, and also removing the insertion made by Sweden for paragraph number 13, because it would be covered if it goes to the farmers' rights section, and we look forward to hear what was decided upon. But I think it is appropriate to focus or to have in mind what the main objectives of the treaty are, given also that we have limitations regarding resources. The Secretary has limitations, and we know that there will be budget constraints. So therefore, I would suggest that we take this 13 bis out here, look what the farmers' rights groups have to suggest in that context, and also remove the insertion made by Sweden to avoid that we go overboard with what the burdens we put on the Secretariat here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Canada. I suggest that we keep the two paragraphs between brackets, and we'll get back to the text again once we have the outcomes from the Farmers' Rights Group, and then move to the following item. Thank you very much. As we don't have any more time for interpretation, I suggest that the small groups continue their work now. The MIPO in the room 11, yes? And the GLIS in the room 10. I have suggested to establish a small group on the conservation and sustainable use. Can we establish this small group to continue the work? So I was informed that the co-chair of the Conservation and Sustainable Use group have contacted the region, and I invite them to continue their discussion. Thank you very much. In the room of Europe. Philippines, are you requesting the floor?
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay, we would just like to, we are very sorry about this, but this needs to be heard because we have given a lot of leeway to the other countries, and we believe that there are countries here also that need the support of the other countries in good faith. We, firstly, responding to Canada, we have, under Articles 5 and 6, we have seen the interlinkage between the conservation and sustainable use of PGRFA and farmers' rights. So that is the reason why we're bringing in the UN Human Rights Council into one of the organizations that this, the treaty needs to also attend to. Secondly, the text in the farmers' rights group refers to implementing farmers' rights, and in this text you can see clearly that the purpose of cooperating with the UN Human Rights Council is to support
Excuse me,
parties.
Philippines, we are not discussing the text anymore. We have suspended
So,
this.
can you please also honor the request, the call of the parties to have paragraphs 9 and 11 bracketed, just like the way